My buddy Dash for this episode of Double Take. Dave, I just said joined by Dash, but we're joined by
Talking
Dash and
in
Dave.
the third person. That's
The way
so weird.
The way you feel.
Hello, everybody. I apparently can't multitask for shit because I tried uploading a short while waiting for this to load and I ran out of time. But anyways, welcome to a fun little segment that we're going to be doing, what we like to call the Tinfoil Hat Show. So, you guys know how Dave and I feel about really talking about news, and it just is boring and monotonous, and there's other sources, and we just don't want to be newscasters for you. But what we want to do is we want to be shit showcaster. No, I'm just kidding. I want to look at it from, I want to say crazy newses and some really weird stuff, just because this week, the past couple of 4 or 5 days, I think we have seen the amount of just random shenaniganry of reporting. So what we're going to do is what we like to call the Tinfoil Hat Show. So we pick some of the most outrageous Juve news articles and we commentate on them and we talk about them and we have some fun with it. And if you guys, and we're doing a live show, so if you guys have any fun or any inconspicuous or crazy rumors or news that you want to talk about, you just slap it in here for us. So this isn't a call-in. This is just more so me and Dave reacting to whatever crazy shenaniganry is on Twitter this week.
Just shitting on things, essentially.
So,
yeah. So I'm doing
I talked for like 2 minutes.
You
just went for a long ass intro.
Straight. Some of the Colin guys would know how that feels as well.
Yeah.
So I'm doing great. Yeah, everything's good. This is a new segment we're doing. I got the tinfoil hat currently on my head. I am ready to go. I think how far down the rabbit hole will depend on you guys, essentially. How crazy you guys get. Because our minds are just two, right? The more you guys kind of stir the pot, the better this can be. So get involved, stir the pot. Hopefully we can contain this into something that got monetized at the end of the day. But if it doesn't, whatever. Throw it in the bin, do it again next week, right? So
absolutely.
Dash, you proposed this one, so
I guess
I'll let you kick it off.
So this is the fun one. This is kind of actually true and kind of funny. I just kind of want to be petty and report on it. So we'll pull it up here because it is, I think we should probably share our screen for this article, right? It's only fair. So first fun news topic that's a little bit out there.
Oh, that's actually
that happened 15 minutes ago. So, in added time, Braga versus Union Berlin's first half, Leonardo Bonucci got a yellow card for protests from the bench, a mocking yellow card, because he was within a booking of a booking. Now, that is some great linguistic choices. He will therefore be disqualified for the last match against Real Madrid. Barring any surprises, this is how his career in the Champions League ends.
It's good riddance. Good riddance.
I think every time there's like a big stage, there's always got to be some Bonucci shithousery. Like I think Bonucci just lives and thrives off it at this point.
He's got nothing else going for him. It must be that, or he's just that insane. I don't know.
I don't understand. It's like, oh, Bonucci. Bonucci.
But this goes back, and we won't dwell on this too much, but it does go back to what we've said the past few episodes. You have more so, Dash, allude to the fact there was a locker room problem last year. Cuadrado may be an issue, as we saw on the weekend. Everyone slide tackling him. Who knows?
I know. You know, that's actually funny. That might be like an actual tinfoil hat theory. Like, do you think that like the players, like Juve players, hated Cuadrado when he was
here?
They
went in hard, like instantly hard, like they wanted that yellow, like Colin does when we play clubs. He's like, I am getting red carded today.
Like, I don't know. Like, to me, that was just super, super interesting.
This is Tal's first one.
Putting chemicals in the water that's making your freaking players injured. Like what, last year? Or they might have put it in Milan waters this season because
Yeah, I mean, we're not doing too bad.
Milan's got a really bad
Milan had to
injury.
poison their own wells.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because like my dad was like, if Milan wasn't fucking around against Newcastle the first game, they wouldn't be in this crisis because Milan is officially last place in their group for Champions League.
And Inter is very comfortably advancing through.
They tied.
Yeah, they're at 11 points now. So
yeah. Well, you know, it's ironic because they were down 3-0 and they were using their B team, and then their B team's like, oh fuck, time to play 3-3.
Yeah. Benfica this year is not being so great. It's disappointing, especially this is the year we wanted them to be good.
So the next thing I want to talk about, Federico Bernardeschi is in Turin, signing autographs, signing Juve jerseys.
It is the off season for the MLS.
Does it? It doesn't even look like him.
He's metrosexual. Do we still use that term these days? Or is that aging myself?
No, I think you're aging yourself there.
Okay. It was a really good term.
Well, so the reason why I bring it up is folks are asking Berna, hey, are you coming back to Juve? And he keeps responding with, I hope. Like,
so they're allowed to, Toronto is allowed to terminate one more contract. So some rule, MLS has so many weird little rules like that, but they're allowed to terminate a contract, and like Insigne and Bernardeschi are both on that list naturally. So maybe there's something there. Who knows? Would they? Because the other thing we're saying is don't bring back the old guard at all. Whether it's Conte, whether it's Bernardeschi in this case, like no, we're done. Like let's move on. It's a new project.
Yeah, which is well, like I don't know, like why? Berna makes no sense whatsoever.
Love the guy, love him. Might
be a cool dude, but just
like would I cheer a little bit on the inside if it happened? Yes,
absolutely you would. Absolutely you would. That's no discussion whatsoever. Absolutely.
Realistically though, it's got to be a negative.
So. Wow, we don't really.
You tease us. I thought we were just gonna like smash into this point, and you're.
Oh no, I'm teasing. I'm teasing because that one's that's gonna be a fun discussion that'll take a while. So, the other thing that crossed Dash's list recently is Bentancur. Remember good old Rodrigo Bentancur?
Yeah. He was the next greatest midfielder, allegedly.
He is injured. He recently got injured for the Coys, as you would say it, the Coys, and which has resulted in Tottenham holding Højbjerg at Tottenham. So to all the Juventini that were like, no, I mean the people that don't want him.
There's a lot that don't want him.
Yeah, he is more than likely not coming to Juve. So he's there. You go. So there is still hope for Lazar. Samardic. So you have a shot.
Working on that one, yeah.
Still working on that one. And then I'm going to follow that up with some other fun transfer stuff in regards to that. Is apparently Mr. Jadon Sancho.
He is English. You can just say this one.
I said it super American. Jadon Sancho. So Jadon Sancho, apparently Juventus have some interest in Jadon Sancho to fill in the void that Di Maria left. He left a void?
Yeah, every time they say that, I'm like, no.
Am I tripping?
What's going on?
And this is from Tuttosport that said it too.
I keep on hearing that, and it's just like, guys, you've missed the plot.
You know, this is what makes this interesting here. Di Maria never made a void or filled a void. He was supposed to fill Dybala's void and failed miserably.
He didn't fail miserably. He just whatever. He was okay.
I'm just saying. He was okay. Like
falling star. That's what it is.
More like guy on Cashing the last check till retirement, if
Oh,
anything.
that. Yeah. I mean, he won a World Cup in the process. So,
You mean he was gifted a World Cup?
well, on this show, yes, the Sultan of, I don't know who the back dude, the dude, that guy.
That guy. That guy. So, despite it, like, I don't really, I don't know. I'm not too sure. So this is, I gotta share the sources, so I'm showing you guys so you can see. I don't know, right? Like, I can understand the interest, but at that point, like, this is what you call, air quotes, a Moneyball move, right? Because you're taking something that's flawed somewhere else and you're trying to reconfigure it into something. Do I don't understand where the hell he would play if he came.
So I see this more as the big newspapers look at big teams and see which holes need to be filled where, and they just say, "Hey, Sancho's an outcast at Man U. Who needs a midfielder? Juve. Let's make some news because in my head this makes perfect sense."
You want to know what Dave's saying that as? That's a polite term for saying, "Hey, let's clickbait some dumbasses for no reason."
More or less, yeah. It's clickbait shit.
Like
Crap.
that's what that
It's
is.
trash. It's Tudo Sport.
Because I don't understand where the hell that would even fit. Like, unless everyone's like, "Hey, let's completely revamp the formation." The only way that means is Juve are trying to go to a 3-4-3. Like, that is, in
Which is
my
the
opinion.
agenda you're starting to push. This is a dash agenda.
I got, damn it! I gotta play the music now. I'm like,
You're gonna need just a conspiracy sound deck for this show in particular.
yeah.
And Bones coming in with that. What, man?
What did
The
she
delay.
say? What did she say?
On what? You gotta reference. You gotta reference. Yeah.
He delays his chats like the Discord delay when you're playing pro clubs.
Yeah.
That's always hilarious.
I want to know what she said. Okay, let's move. Let's keep
on.
scrolling down the X.
So this one was reported by All Juve Cast. Pavel
Credible.
Nedved. Well, they're just everybody on Twitter just recycle something from somewhere else. It's not even like whatever.
That's why I don't do it. I'm like, I'm just another asshole that thinks I'm important enough to have an account that says the exact same shit. No, I'm just gonna go to those accounts.
It's like a relay, but I mean, if anything, we're just here to react to it. All right. So, former Juventus vice president, or translation, former lapdog and legend Pavel Nedved could find himself in a new role as the director of the technical area for the Czech Football Association. So he is.
Isn't that old news though? I heard that was gonna. No, or am I thinking? Who am I thinking? I'm Higuain. Is that no? It wasn't him. Mandzukic. Was it one of those guys? There was an ex-Juve player that was involved.
Not with the Czech.
No, not Czechs. I'm getting my news completely mixed up. Never mind. I'm just making shit up at this point. I know we talked about it. It'll come to me. Let's move on. Digging the hole.
So, another news that is from Morik 92. Juve will look at the Monza player Kopani. I think that's what it is. Kopani. So, guys, on Friday, make sure you pay attention to Kopani. Juve have some interest in him.
Well, the scouts are actually going to be there.
Yeah, so I don't really know much about him. I'm pretty sure you can ask Misak, and Misak will say, "Brother, I can tell you everything you want to know." He'll probably key you in on everything you need to know about.
He's
Kopani.
not that. I think he's 24, so he's not a super youngster.
Yeah,
Dash specializes in teenagers.
Damn it, Dave. Damn it, Dave.
Sorry, it's the tinfoil hat. I can't.
Yeah, that's not a good tinfoil hat joke to throw out there. Next thing later, my job sees this and it's like, "Hey, so you were part of this live stream, and apparently you look into so and so." And I'm like, "No.
Don't be context, guys.
Context.
I am wearing a tinfoil hat. Could you? This wouldn't work in court. I assure you, this does not work in court. A guy on the internet with a tinfoil hat, you do not listen to that man.
Nope.
Okay. So what else do we got?
I think looking at it from the actual, like, the main event of what we want to talk about, but the problem is I can't find the damn thing anymore so I can show you guys because it was absolutely outlandish and hilarious.
I have I have a
You have a link,
I have a
Dave?
clip. I don't know if it's a link, but
Because like
I guess I can share a screen.
I'm trying to find it, but like I don't
Okay, I can
like I can't.
move aside, bitch. I got this.
I bitch, I'm out.
Oh,
Whoops,
that's my no. Oh,
that's your hat and Beppe in a suit.
yeah. Could I scroll in? See, it's small. This is just Telegram here.
Oh,
From Mohammed El Shalehi. So I don't know if he
more
forwarded that,
tactical.
but it is from Elario di Giovanbattista. This is the same guy from yesterday. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? Anyways, from Radio via around Juventus. So it's one of these from here. But Elario di Giovanbattista.
Here, I got this.
He's
There
got.
we
Okay,
go.
I can get rid of my janky screen.
All right, you can get rid of your janky screen. So, Beep Elso, he's new. Welcome. Hi.
Oh hey, no. I've seen it.
Have you? I haven't.
Yes. No, I
Oh.
recognize that. Well,
I just look like an ass. I don't
Nah, you
remember
do.
anybody.
yeah.
All right,
yeah.
so this is going to be the main thing that we're going to talk about tonight. So, according to Mr. Ilario di Giovanna, Juventus,
Batista. That is a mouthful.
that is a lot. Of course, relevant people. He's like right next to the thing. Juventus are working on restructuring the management for next season. Platini will be the president. Giuntoli will be sporting director. Chiellini, director general, and Conte the coach. So, at this point,
geriatrics wet dream fantasy did this come from?
I have no idea because here's what we're gonna talk about here. If we put Platini as our president, we're just asking for another scandal or a random deduction.
It's just like what? Where? How does that fit into your universe?
No, it makes no sense. No sense whatsoever.
Oh man.
Like, I understand getting like Chiellini involved, but like, has Chiellini officially retired or is he still playing for LA? Because he played last season.
Yeah, I believe he's still active.
I think Chiellini's still active. So
how
the hell are you gonna? I understand like Chiellini does have an MBA, but like, how do you? No, that doesn't make. It's like fantasy footy.
Yeah, and then still current.
And then to make this even funnier, because Conte, everyone was losing their mind because this guy said Conte was the next coach of Juve. So like, we look at this here. No real talks between Juventus and Conte at this stage. Speaking November 29th.
Surprise. And who is that? Enrico
Passarella.
Okay, I don't know that name either, but
so I don't think that's happening. So I don't understand how this guy said Conte already had a signed agreement. It makes no sense. You're essentially switching one Allegri for another Allegri, but this one just doesn't.
So
this one has a toupee.
Enrico Passarella. So that's Foot Italia.
Okay.
He's Foot Italia 1.
Damn it.
So he's just one of the guys that works with Raf.
Ah.
So,
but here
he's the other guy.
Alfredo Padula relays. So he's relaying something that Alfredo Padula said. So he wants to come back, but I don't think there's an agreement. Look, Conte and Giuntoli make absolutely no sense together. Absolutely no sense. Philosophical wise, when it comes to how they want a roster, it makes no sense. Like that to me has I have a very, very hard time believing, because at the end of the day, it's Giuntoli that makes the hire. Mm-hmm. There is no Andrea Agnelli that says you need to hire this guy or you need to hire this guy. So for me, it is a very, very tough sell that Giuntoli wants a guy that doesn't really play youth players, wants a more senior squad, wants a higher average age, and wants to spend on shiny new toys.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. And this is where I'm going to kind of get into like what Juve's build is, and I need to clarify it because I think some terminology is taken out of context here. So, one of the things that I've seen in our Discord and some of the things that we've said and kind of mentioned on videos with folks is the Moneyball approach. So, a lot of you folks think going a cheaper, cost-effective way is what Moneyball is. It's not. It's not. It's totally different. So, to kind of give you the layman's terms or a high-level breakdown on what a Moneyball approach is you take players that are considered busts or washouts or flawed players. And what you're doing is you're looking at statistical numbers, empirical data, and all that other bullshit, and you take it and you compile it into a list of 11 players. So 11 misfits that all get conglomerated into one squad that it just clicks. And if you take one of these guys out of it, they don't do quite well. So that's what the Oakland A's did in the movie Moneyball. It's
They
not
were
that.
kind of like the originators of the system.
Yes, they were
And
kind of
there's a book about it.
Yeah.
Read the book. It's awesome.
Read the book. It's a good read. Don't watch the movie. The book gives you enough details on it. So
the movie's entertaining. The book teaches you what it's
yeah,
about.
it's just, oh my god, Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill. So when you do a Moneyball build, and I'm going to make this clear, Juve are not doing a Moneyball build. It is totally different from that concept. So what the Oakland A's did, and I'm going to compare it to a footy squad as well, because they did this too. You take a bunch of misfits and you conglomerate them together because they work well together in a set system, and you cater it to that specific system. If you sell those guys, they don't do shit anywhere else because it's just how it is for that system. And a team that did that was Leicester City back in 15-16. They got a bunch of air quotes misfits because Jamie Vardy wasn't the greatest thing since sliced cheese when that story started. Same thing with Riyad Mahrez. Same thing. N'Golo Kante was kind of on the way up as well. Robin Huth, their center back. Then you have their goalkeeper, Kasper Schmeichel, didn't really pop off yet. So there's a bunch of players on that Leicester squad that was just brought in and everything. Claudio Ranieri as well came in as a coach. And you had all of those, which was a cheap alternative because none of those players were really that expensive. If you actually look at when those players were brought in, they came together and they popped off. So now when you look at that, it's kind of similar to another squad that we know, though I don't think they've won anything large on the scale of what Leicester did in the Premier League. We've worked with them before. We've actually collaborated with them, and Galatasaray is a Moneyball squad. Why? They take players that have issues or falling outs from their clubs. They get them at a nice cheap price, give them a little bit of Istanbul love, and have them in a system where they can coexist with each other. They perform, and then they flip for a profit. That's what Galatasaray does. Leicester City didn't do. Well, they did, right? They actually did that to an extent where they flipped some of those players. Juve are not doing that. The Juve are not doing a Moneyball build. The reason is Juve isn't building a squad full of misfits. Juve are taking up-and-coming players that have high potentials before they hit their ceilings because it's cheaper, right? Because what Juve is kind of doing is they have their next-gen project, which is a grassroots project. That is, hey, we're instilling what Juve is, and we're instilling the whole process of the club and loving the club and everything to these youngsters to groom them into the superstars that they hope that they will get. That's not Moneyball. That's a sustainability model for multiple years because then you have a sustainable talent pipeline. So that's going to be kind of how Juve are building towards. It's not Moneyball. We're not getting flops from different clubs. We're not doing that unless you want to consider Doosan one. Had to throw a Doosan jab in there, but it's very different. Juve are looking at young players with high ceilings and high potentials that they're bringing in. Like, for example, Lazar from Udinese. He hasn't quite popped off yet. He's on the verge of popping off. So Juve are looking for players that are close to their breakouts when they, a breakout season, which is they're about to be good.
Merch idea.
That is a very good idea. That is a very good idea.
It's brilliant. Actually, that one's going in the book.
So if you look at the players that Giuntoli wants to bring, is he's bringing players that are on the up and coming, but haven't gone up there. And you're not going to get them more than, they're not going to sell for more than 30 to 40 million because they haven't proved anything yet, but they also have the potential to prove, which isn't a Moneyball approach at all. They're looking at a nice young grassroots, a nice long foundation, because this is the initial phase. So the other thing that I've seen as well that I kind of want to address here is the whole like year 3 versus year 1, right? So Allegri's technically in year 3, Giuntoli's in year 1. The issue is you look at like the players that were brought in besides Timmy, they were all brought in under. Okay, that looks fine. So you're bringing in players from a system from Arriva Bene and Cherubini, which in my opinion were panic buys and dumpster fires. Because as much as I love Bremer as a defender, great defender, has progressed as a defender, you can't play in a back four. And that locks you down to a certain system. And you paid $50 million for that, which is not a good buy. And if you look at a lot of the deals that Cherubini and Arriva Bene did, not really great buys, lots of oh shit buys. So the difference is, and this is where you kind of have to take a step back and be objective. So this is technically year 1 of the Giuntoli project. You can agree with me or you can disagree with me. Allegri is not a factor in this because I'm going to bring this question to you guys in the chat that are listening. So when we look at Conte and Allegri, and I'm going to ask you guys this, and I asked this in Discord earlier this morning. Who was really the main architect of the Conte Allegri era? Was it Conte or was it Allegri? Or was it someone else? Dave, you can answer if you want.
That I totally missed that conversation.
Well, good. I'm asking you the question so you missed
the
it.
hell up. I think we have touched on this before. It does go back. I'm trying to remember both arguments here and try to, because now I have the biases, right? I do know a lot of people say it goes back to Conte because he's the one that built it from essentially nothing, and then Allegri came in and had what was partially polished. It had the rough polish on, if you will, right? And he had to kind of just like clean it up and do the rest. So really, you can even say it went from that, like who gave Conte the platform to go and do what he did, right? You can go back to like 2006 and say, oh, if none of that happened, none of this would have. But that gets into like revisionist history, which is another reason to wear a tinfoil hat. And Colin's in here now, and I'm sure he would love to go down that rabbit hole.
This is where I'm going to step in.
Let's bring it back.
I'm going to make this clear. Okay. This isn't a Misak defense monologue. No. That's not cool for you to come in and say that. I'm not cool with that. This is having a discussion on a certain topic that was brought up, and it's trying to get viewers' opinions and viewers' thoughts on it. If you want to say that, that's fine, but that's not the idea. Tal says it was Morata. So you can't compare both eras because as the years went on, there were different players that were brought in for different roles. It's totally different because, like, for example, you look at the players. Conte had to work with the bargain bin players that Morata bought in. Mm-hmm. He did.
And that's us Tal saying that it was Morata. And yes, that's the other thing. It's not just coaches. It gets complicated.
Yeah. So like, for example, so Morata brought in certain tools that he could at the time, like your Liechtensteiners, your Barzaglis, your Paduans, your I think it wasn't Zaza. It was Pepe, Simone Pepe, and those guys, where Conte made the best of what he had with those guys. Like he did. That's being disingenuous if I said he didn't do that. And then you look at it, and it's difficult to compare because you can't. It is not a 1-for-1 comparison. Because Morata brought in different ingredients for different eras.
Colin says Morata was the farmer, Conte was the chef. That's
pretty much the argument. You just said the argument for me. So beautiful. Over the next 8 years, Morata was bringing in different ingredients the entire time. Did he not? Because, like, for example, you look at the players that he brought in originally in 2011. Yeah, exactly. So Conte didn't come in the beginning and start changing. He worked with what was there. And then as Juve became more financially stable, more financially structured, they started bringing in more stuff. Because what was Conte's biggest complaint before he left?
The money.
You
It's always,
can't
it's always the money.
you can't dine at $100 restaurant with $10, and he booked, right? That's pretty much what he left on. So then, as the years went on and as Juve became more financially stable and more secure, you started seeing more splash buys. You started seeing the purchase of bringing Khedira. You started seeing the purchase of Higuain. You started seeing purchases of Miralem Pjanic. You started seeing Mehdi Benatia. You started seeing Mandzukic, Paulo Dybala, etc. And then, it ends with Ronaldo, because even though it was under Morata's tenure, but Morata never really wanted to bring in Ronaldo, right? So this whole apples to orange, and for me, comparing Allegri and Conte is apples to oranges, because you look at the ingredients that Morata provided Conte and you look at the ingredients that Allegri had. It's different quality. What's completely different?
So shouldn't the conversation be different then? Because why are we contrasting two coaches in two different eras with different resources? Should we not kind of look at it from a larger picture? Just kind of like how I brought it back to 2006.
Yeah.
It's a transitional thing, right? It was one that led into the other. It wasn't one then the other. One was allowed to exist because of the other.
Yes. Allegri's tenure with Morata's purchases was allowed to exist because Conte made the bargain bin work.
Like we got to stop just fighting. And I know this, like the concept of this thing is to like fight about shit, but like we're fighting over sides that there are no sides, right? Like it's a transition. It's
a natural progression, because like, for example, you can't, the reason why I'm saying you can't argue it, because you brought in certain pieces, certain players, and you brought them in for free. And so then, like, for example, right here.
Another point as well.
Exactly. So we got Pirlo, we got Pogba for free. Marquisio was homegrown, and some of that was luck that Conte made work.
It's all layers.
Exactly. So it's a and I keep saying this because I keep seeing this on the internet where everyone is arguing Conte versus Allegri. Guys, it's different situations. It's apples and oranges. Conte had go ahead, Dave.
Sure, Jeff, this kind of goes to the point. Are we comparing Allegri 1 or 2 to the situation? And in this situation, we're doing Conte 1 to Conte, or Conte 1 to Allegri 1, but we have now Allegri 2 with what we don't know what Conte 2 is. So it's hypothetical. Sorry. Hey.
No, you're good. The argument that I'm making here is because, like, for example, even when you're comparing Allegri 1.0 and you're comparing Allegri 2.0, what is not the common denominator between Allegri 1.0 and Allegri 2.0? It's a sporting director. Because, like, for example, in my opinion, you cannot compare Allegri 1.0 to 2.0 because Morata is not there. You don't have 4 or 5 years of Morata continuously building. It's the truth, right? How many sporting directors has Allegri had so far? 3? Because Cherubini and Arrivabene are technically 2. Arrivabene is the cost-saving guy, and Cherubini is the air quotes sporting director, and then now he has Giuntoli and Mana. So technically 4.
And Allegri was sort of it last year. And so I don't know if you want to count that.
Allegri was kind of the sporting director for 6 months. So it's very difficult because, like, I understand that we're calling back to the past and whatnot. And the other thing too, and like, I kind of wanted to put this to bed with my thoughts, because it's one of those things where I find it extremely frustrating, because there's so much of a comparison that, like, oh, hey, he did this happened because of this and that and that. For me, it's apples and oranges, because of, you had, again, bargain bins for the first 3 years, and I still don't forgive Conte for fumbling the Europa League that season when we had it in our home stadium.
Hurt.
That was extremely stupid. So for me, I don't understand why we need to look back towards, oh, we need to bring in Conte, we need to do this, or we need to do that. We kind of need to move in the forward direction, right?
And he's making another great point here, Peloso.
Peloso's killing it tonight. So I'll read them out here. We've been ignoring a bunch of comments, and I'm sorry. It says, one more thing I'd like to add. Conte was 100% focused on domestic calcio Serie A. Allegri came in for Europe, 2 different coaches, at times not comparable.
Yeah. Another layer.
It's another layer. And I don't think it's genuine to compare the 2 eras, because Juve from 2011 to about 2014 were broke. And I don't mean financially broke, right? But like, as far as making extravagant signings, no. Because let's be honest, would Juve at that time spend about what was like back then when we bought Alvaro Morata for like 20 million and we bought like for 21 million with a buyback clause because that was the only way that Real Madrid would lower the price. That was like our splash signing. Like back then, our signings were not that expensive. Like even Carlos Tevez was really cheap. Like Juve rarely broke the bank.
And there's another thing that we can talk about too, another layer I will throw on, and I know this is another one of Colin's favorites. When the team really started going corporate, changed the logo over, became just corporate, bureaucratic. Allegri, as we see now, is still true, very much fits that mold. And we see how we got to see Sardi, for instance, doesn't look so good under the bureaucratic banner, right? So again, it was slightly different times and slightly different coaches. Yeah. I just want to throw that one out there.
No, and that's fair. And guys, the argument isn't just in one section. It's because of this news drop, because of Allegri allegedly leaving and Conte allegedly taking the job. You keep seeing these comparisons, and it's one of those things where we got to talk about what the comparisons are and why they're being brought, right? So, all right, Colin says the argument isn't Conte versus Allegri, but Conte succeeded with less. Allegri given 3 years with mostly better players, as you said, Conte worked with what he had. Okay, I understand that.
But how competitive was the league? That the argument there would be that the league is much more competitive.
Well, I don't like using that because like you play against who's in front of you. Because like for example, you can play against that. Like for me, that's not really, I'm taking that out of the equation. Yes, he made do with bargain bins, but at the same time, with the relative competition, it's apples to oranges because Allegri made do with a better squad and better superstars and didn't whine about what he got, in a sense where Conte whined about, the famous $100 restaurant with $10. It's not that per se. And you can argue and you can say Allegri doesn't work well within a tight budget, but this current iteration of Allegri is very, very difficult because you're getting a mix of different sporting directors without a concise plan.
But again, why does the conversation have to be who did this, who that? It's a dick measuring contest, right? Like if you want to just have fun and just hypothetical, say this maybe, like if you wanted to do the whole classic, what if the Nazis won the war thing, alternate reality, right? And you do it because it's fun, just to have a discussion. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. They were both our coaches. They were both successful, and they both helped us grow and get to a point in which we as fans cheered a whole shitload about.
Yeah.
So, man, I don't care. I'll take them both. We got Allegri right now. And when it's time for him to leave, I want the best coach for the team at the time. If that's Conte, then sure, let's bring him on. I'm more than happy. But if it's somebody else, like Dash's favorite De Zerbi, for instance, then cool. I'll support him too. But it's our team, right? We shouldn't be like getting all hurt up over our team. Okay, I don't know. I guess it got a little heated. I didn't read it, but that's my 2 cents from an outsider.
Yeah, but it's the other thing that I kind of want to talk about, what I've seen on Twitter as well. Gaetano says for a European mentality, we need a coach with a different style, football style. What style? That's what I'll ask you. What kind of style are you looking for? Colin says Allegri shown he can't work within a tight budget. Bringing in Conte is a bad idea, but just using it as a reference why he doesn't deserve any more excuses. Into what regards? Louis says it's time to go fresh, go get a coach that's not Italian like Xabi Alonso. Look at what he's doing at Bayern Leverkusen. As much as I would like to see a non-Italian coach, I think that's very difficult for.
Is Louis' team Sporting?
Yeah.
Louis, by the way, he's one of our club's guys. He's one of the regulars and likes to score more than me as well. Portuguese guy, different perspective. Not always a Juve fan here, so we love that, and we love you guys just kicking us in the ass. Say, hey, you guys you got your heads in the sand. Look at something else over
here. Colin says when Allegri had success at Milan, it was off previous bases. Milan no, dude. Carlo Ancelotti was gone 2 years before Allegri got there. It wasn't a previous base. That Milan squad was aging. That Milan squad was just on its last leg. You had Leonardo as their coach before Allegri came in. They weren't trying to rebuild or anything. Like, that club was practically like, hey, squeeze this as much as you can because you're not getting anything. Now, that one, I can agree with him utilizing the foundation that was laid from Conte at Juve. He took it and moved it forward. But Milan, Carlo Ancelotti was long gone when
But
Allegri
that's what
went
a
there.
successful coach does in general, is take what they have and improve on it. Whether it's at level 7 or level 2. Did Conte take Juve from a level 4 to level 6? Sure. Did Allegri take us from a 6 to an 8? Yeah.
For sure.
But so why I just don't know why we're arguing.
Yeah.
Or get mad about. I just don't know what we're mad about in general.
No, it's not a matter of being mad, but, like, for example, let's use Milan. So Ancelotti's last season, Milan was 26, 12, and 9. Then when Leonardo took over, Milan regressed and went 23, 13, and 12. And then Allegri took it and went 28, 14, and 8 and won the title. So that one's a little bit of a tough sell on me, versus because you lost Kaká, you lost a big chunk of superstars on that Milan roster. You had an old Gattuso, an old Seedorf. Maldini was pretty much out the door at that time. I think you just had Nesta, who was on last legs, and then Pirlo, who got the boot. So Juve, yes, I can give that, but the Milan one is a very tough sell for me. Very, very tough. But with that being said, I don't understand the comparisons that are being made to the two, because their eras are both under totally different contexts, different conversations. Like, it's very, very difficult. You look at Conte.
That's like the History Channel.
It is.
Again, tinfoil hat, when they do like Vikings versus samurais. It's like, nah, it's cool. Again, it's cool. It's a cool concept to think about it, to theoretically, oh man, yeah, maybe that could affect, but there's really no comparison.
Okay, so Gaetano responds with offensive style football, because I asked him what type of style are you looking for. So let me ask you this: what kind of offensive style? Are you talking about full tiki-taka offensive style, high press offensive style, high counter offensive style? Because counterattacking is pretty offensive if you know what's being utilized. So there's multiple different facets of offensive style football. The question is, and my question to you is, what kind of offensive style and what kind of players will you need to execute that style? Because look, everyone wants Italy to play this amazing offensive style football. How's that working for them so far? They popped off in the Euro, and then that was it.
It's good against weaker teams because you don't have to lock her down in the back. But when you're up against a well-drilled team, you better be, in that case, like a Liverpool or Man City, Real Madrid, and have like the best wing backs and defenders or whatever. Like, and that's really the problem. And it goes back to the conversation we're having, is which coach did best with the resources that they have. So in a lot of cases, it's not a matter of, oh, we want a coach to do offensive football. It's, will management provide us with the money and the players to be able to provide that football in a way that we can continue to win, and not just be Dash, probably you want to go on to, man, I just had the name too. I'm losing it today. De Zerbi's team, Brighton. Fuck, I'm losing it. Completely losing it. Like Brighton, right? Like they sometimes completely shit the bed and let a bunch in. So I think, Dash, that's sort of what you're getting at, right? You have to balance the books in a way. So it's good to say you want it offensively, but how are we getting there?
You have to be able to essentially adjust it, right? You have to be able to have, because all your elite teams know how to defend and they know how to play offense. Where it's like, we look at, for example, teams with more shots, right? So you have a team that has a bunch of shots, but at the same time, like, for example, Brighton right now is 8th in the Premier League. 8th. And they use that high press.
Fiorentina right now?
Fiorentina is, give me 1 second.
I'm looking it up, because that's Italiano ball. They're 8th as well.
They're 8th as well, right?
So it gets you about 8th place football. Again, it's not fair because different players, blah, blah, blah.
It is. It isn't. So it's a little bit of both, right? So when we look at Italiano ball, we played them. We neutralized the living hell. They had more crosses, more shots, more everything. The issue isn't about how many shots you have. The thing is, how many decisive shots do you have and how many of them do you make? Because you look at West Ham, they played De Zerbi. They smoked them 4. They put 4 on them. You want to know how many shots they took? You want to know how many Brighton took? 30. 30. So for my thing is this.
A shot doesn't have to hit the net.
A shot doesn't have to hit the net, clearly. Yeah, I obviously understand that. But like,
yeah, no, but I'm just like
letting people know.
A shot could be absolutely nothing, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So high shooting isn't a stat in isolation to focus on.
So this is where I'm going to have some fun here. So I'm going to read some of these comments real quick. I don't necessarily hate Allegri. His tactics at the moment are working, but not sustainable. We need a freaking attacking mid.
Yeah,
we need players to produce. We need guys to produce better. That's honestly one of the biggest issues we have.
I think we kind of maybe drifted to the point here where maybe we're apologetic. We understand there's issues, right? Let's not dismiss the fact that yes, currently what we have are still issues. And I know we've gone about how good Conte is, how good Allegri is, but I mean, Allegri also has his weaknesses. The system has its weaknesses, management, blah, 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 the whole system, right? So yes, absolutely. We got to be doing some fixing up, and we clearly are. There's more money in the coffers. Market's about to open up in the sober month. So it's happening.
You want to know what Allegri's biggest flaw is? Allegri's biggest flaw is he can't improvise offensively. He can't scheme when your offense isn't clicking. Like, he can't figure a way out how to simplify it for these guys at this point. That's if you want to give him a flaw, that's going to probably be his flaw. Palesso says, I am fine with Juve remaining defensive. We need our forwards scoring, so when they have the opportunity, Juve is known for Grinta defensive style to win. We're not Sassuolo. Jeff says, offensive football is too expensive. He said, so this is interesting. Inter is very solid and they score a lot. You know, Inter is a very, very high counterattacking team. You want to know how they scored against us? They counterattacked. 3 passes. That's it. That's all it took for them to score on us. So Inter is the third team this third style that I mentioned. High tempo counterattacking football. You want to know how that works? You have 2 ball playing midfielding pivots that can move and place the ball anywhere. Do we have that currently? Absolutely not.
And you need some wing backs that know what the hell they're doing as well.
Yes.
Which we're 50-50.
You need actual wing backs that play in an actual wing back position. Not Philip Kostic, not Weston McKennie, not Timmy Weah. And I am not bashing these players. I'm not. But at the end of the day, they are stopgaps. They are not actual Federico DeMarcos, Denzel Dumfries. They're not those guys. And that's why Inter is so damn effective, is because they have a line of 5 players in the middle that know how to move the ball and when to move the ball. That is why they're counterattacking. Today, they were down 3-0, tied it up 3-3 against Benfica like it was nobody's business. So when we look at that, it's very tough because they have ball playing midfielders that unfortunately we don't. Is Rabiot a ball player? No, he's a defensive pivot. Is Locatelli a ball player? Kinda, not really, but kinda.
He's being forced into the role.
Is Nicola Fagioli one of those guys? Yeah, but he's got gambling AA he has to go to. Is Pogba that guy?
Service.
Is Pogba that guy? Yeah, but
he's got TikTok videos to
He's got TikTok videos he's got to film now because he's officially done as a pro. So the main point I want to say is, like, a bunch of people say, get a coach that'll play offensive style, that'll do this and blah, blah, blah. Guys, you got to understand, coaches at top clubs don't train players to be better players. Like, that's one of the things, right? Carlo Ancelotti didn't teach Vinicius Jr. how to score more goals. He put Vinicius Jr. by scheming it in a better chance to showcase what his capabilities are. The only time, so like, for example, your top tier coaches don't teach players how to play better. Let's use Conte and Allegri. How many players have we from 2018 to 2019? How many of those players that left Juve, besides Arturo Vidal and Kingsley Coman, how many of those guys went on to do stuff in the next clubs? Bonucci at Milan?
or Union Berlin.
Yeah. Like, how many players that left Juve during that tenure went out to have thriving careers? Besides Arturo Vidal, who was in theory kicked out because of drinking issues, and Kingsley Coman, who isn't by all means, he's done well, but at the same time he still has injury issues. Conte and Allegri made players work for the systems that they were trying to do and make it work, but when those players left, they did nothing because they weren't improved by Allegri and Conte. Coaches that improve players, that specifically work on improving players so they gain more value, are what we like to call feeder clubs. Your mid-table province sides that take in a young player, develop them, make them good so they can flip them for a buck. Sassuolo is one of those clubs.
Used to be anything from Portugal or Netherlands.
Yeah. So I keep seeing these people like, it's like, oh, hey, you need to do this to make the player improve this. Yeah, when you're a top tier, and I mean elite, like, does Guardiola take players and make them better? At Bayern Munich? No.
Not necessarily. Like, I mean,
no.
Better within the system
within their system, yes.
But like overall, no, they get the best players. They get the developed players.
No. If you want a coach that'll sit there and train your players, that'll develop your players and build them, Frosinone, Genoa, Sassuolo.
Frosinone's doing it for 3 of our guys right now.
Yeah, they're doing it for 3 of our guys right now. So we got to understand that. And I love it because Beppe came in one of our streams and also commented on that as well. Top tier coaches, their jobs are not to make your players better. In a sense, they're there to scheme to their strengths to make the team better. You might have one of the head coach's assistants sit there and be like, hey, we got to work on this and adjust this and do some touches there. The assistant will help the player become a better player. But it's not on your main coach. It was never on Conte to make players better. It was on Conte, how do we take this barrel and make this barrel work? Same thing with Carlo Ancelotti. You think Real Madrid brought in Carlo Ancelotti because Carlo Ancelotti is incredible at training players? No. They said, hey, in your entire career, you know how to make things work with a low budget. Because he hasn't been buying players. He hasn't been splashing cash at Real Madrid as much as other coaches have there. They're like, hey, we have this superstar that in the making, Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo and Benzema and whatnot. How do you do that? I call cap on this. Who has left Manchester City and dominated? Who? Same thing with Barcelona as well.
Danilo as a center back.
No, seriously, like who's left? Who's left and done that? I 100% disagree with that take. Same thing with Bayern Munich when Pep Guardiola was at Bayern Munich.
He's giving you a hard disagreement. All the knives are coming out for you tonight, Dash.
That's fine, but there hasn't been a single top tier coach that has taken a player and developed them and flipped them for a buck or anything like that, because that's not what they do. He says, I love the one, Danilo.
See, I got a laugh. It works.
But Guardiola essentially kicked him to the curb, discarded him. Did he improve Danilo? No, Danilo improved when he came to Juve. But when Danilo came, he wasn't the greatest right back when he played with us.
See, this is like a martial arts take here. A coach's job is not to motivate a player. That is all in the person.
Because when a player's at that level, that tier, they should be able to do it on their, they should know what to do. Guardiola isn't there to make you a better striker.
So Louis saying Sané.
Is he though? Because he got rid of Sané because Sané had disciplinary issues.
Yes. So
because that was one of the
what are the stats? Like, is he like measurably better?
No, I don't think so. I think he's about the same. If not, he's played less. He's been more injury prone.
Yeah, I would say like lateral movement, but I mean they don't get shit. It's not like they go and then these are the worst players ever. They've kind of peaked. They're at their peak.
Yeah, but that's the idea, right? Because for example, if you can give me a list of that where a top tier coach like an Ancelotti has brought in players, developed them, and let them grow and blah blah blah. It's not, because they don't. Their job isn't to do that. Their job is to, I have this at my disposal. I need to make it work. Some coaches do it better than others, and others don't do it that way. For example, why did Graham Potter suck at Chelsea? because he didn't know what to do with what he had. Okay, so Pedro. Is he though? Pedro played for 2 seasons and then went to Chelsea and was mediocre after. Kimmich, the same thing.
Chelsea kills players.
Yeah, Busquets.
Dude, I like Kimmich.
Busquets was part of the La Masia crop that came in before Guardiola was the coach there. He came in through that prop because the La Masia guys didn't get promoted when Guardiola was there. They got promoted before Guardiola was there. So that
And
one as well.
And Foden, I guess he can maybe argue because his numbers are better.
You can argue Foden, but when Foden leaves, if he does leave, which I doubt it, but even then, Foden was brought in through the youth program. So Foden was in the youth program, brought all the way up like Fajoli. And Busquets was not developed by Guardiola. Because Busquets, under all the other managers at Barcelona, was the same.
All right, Dash is coming hard tonight, guys. Better watch out.
It's not me coming hard, but it's what it is. Like, for example, Pedro was good because, and then who else? Fabregas. Fabregas was amazing at Arsenal, and then he went to Barcelona. Guardiola didn't make him a better player. He was already a good player. Guardiola isn't a developer. Guardiola is, hey, I'm going to have you here. You got to do this, and you got to do this. So then we look at who else is a top coach. Ancelotti. Has Ancelotti developed anyone or anything crazy? No.
Off the top of my head, no.
Ancelotti was a master of making good with what he had. Coaches that develop players or that make players shine. Graham Potter at Brighton was great at developing players. Brighton has one of the best youth programs and systems because Graham did the initial setup there. That, again, it was a natural fit for De Zerbi to go there. Thiago Motta, in my opinion, I think he's one of those guys that can develop players. Is he a top level coach? We'll see. I'm trying to think of other names too. You can throw Italiano on there in the hat, but I think Italiano has more to his coaching game. But the idea that I'm trying to sell you guys on is, like, for example, your top coaches don't really do that, right? And then he says Rodri is better than he is.
Now, when you're comparing Atleti, you're talking about the player killers.
Atleti. So here's essentially, Rodri was in theory like a center back, used as a center back, in a sense, defensive midfielder center back at Atleti, where it was you lay down more deeper. And in Atletico, he wasn't being used to his strengths. Whereas, like, for example, you move him over to Man City, where Guardiola kind of has him play a lot more differently than he plays at Atleti, and he plays more towards Rodri's strengths.
I mean, Griezmann looks like just a mediocre player playing for Atleti.
Yeah, Griezmann went to Barcelona, looked like crap, went back to Atleti, and now he plays like as a 10. Like, and even then, like, for example, Simeone, when he was starting up, Simeone wasn't essentially rated as a top tier coach back then because he was working his way up, and then he essentially built that foundation of the Atleti squad. But it's tough. It's a tough argument where, like, a top level coach is responsible for developing developing players into elite players. No, they put them in situations where they become elite, because you never hear like one of those guys that is a coach, or, like, for example, that's a player whisperer. It's just not a thing now in modern football. You know what they do? If they see a player that needs to sharpen their skills or do better, you know what they do to them? They send them on loan. That's what all your big teams do now.
KB is just saying Mancini. What are we referencing? Mancini is a fairly popular name.
Yeah, like
talking about
in the Euros. Because in the Euros, he took with what he had and made it all work for that Euros.
We're talking about the player. Like, there's a lot of Mancinis. So,
all right, and then if you're looking at prime Mancini with Inter, when he was with Inter, when they were doing stuff, he kind of had a really solid squad and he made it work.
Yeah, he's a good coach.
I'm dead with the Tim hat.
Have you not seen this man? You've been around a while, I'm sure. He's got my brain buffering.
So,
oh man.
Because we were talking, and this is funny because we're using this to talk about the new board with Platini and them. It's
so, and man, I had it up for a while. We never hit on it. Somebody's saying they are down for the Platini. I'm gonna share a screen.
Go ahead.
Just to kind of give you the latest thing that he does. Platini's name has been a core part of recent football history, but not always for the right reasons. So, like, it starts off basically saying, okay, this guy. He was recently arrested over allegations of corruption in the awarding of the 2022 World Cup to Qatar, but that is hardly the first time the Frenchman has been in the headlines. Anyways, I'm not gonna go through this whole thing. Essentially, this guy's trouble.
I'm telling you, you want a point deduction, you bring in Platini.
So yeah, like no, it has to be a no. As a player legend, sure, but let's leave it.
Yeah. the only thing I would want from Platini is if he was Juve's president when Juve wins the Champions League, so he could take it from Sheffrin, because him and Sheffrin have beef.
Yeah, Sheffrin must not have very many friends. Like, his best friend is Glavina, and that has to say something.
No, he does not. Does not.
His wife hates him. Let's be honest. We're trying to see, JC. We're trying to clean up our act a little bit. Be the bright spot in this otherwise dirty ass league. We didn't even talk. Okay, man. Which other names did we not really get into of those four?
Chiellini as Director General.
That one's plausible.
Really though?
It could happen. It could be a thing. Do I see it happening?
I mean, I could see him getting like a Nedved role.
Yeah, something more like what does this guy do?
That's the only thing I can see.
Like Buffon's job with the national team.
Like I don't know. That's just that whole article. Like, I love Chiellini being back involved with the club, which I think he should be, but like, I don't know. Because like, what is a Director General?
The general director. So it's an Italian, so everything's backwards. Probably just a general director. So the director of operations, I'm assuming. Just like the general director.
I don't understand what that is.
Like the general manager, in a sense.
I know, but the general manager of what?
Of the team. It's probably like an Nedved role where it sounds cool.
Like, is it like it's like what KB is saying, director of moral support and motivator?
Sure. Of hookers and blow, of whatever. Well, because that's what Nedved did. But yeah, I mean, Chiellini probably has a couple little tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah, but I would still think he's green. So if anything, they keep him.
Yes, and Gentoli is technically the GM. We say sporting director in European football, but yes. But it's something that I'm having trouble clearly explaining because I don't know. So director, let's just Google it. What is director general in football?
JC says, this is the history of the Tottenham. Is he like watching this on replay or something? Because I have no idea what the hell he's talking about.
Okay. I got something. The director of football normally works closely with the manager, but has a more strategic role, overseeing the running of medical and physiotherapy departments, the scouting network, transfer dealings, and data and analysis team. So it's the back end manager.
He has no experience for that.
No. But we love him.
We love him, but like, I think he's
enough, isn't it?
Let's go. I think he's way too raw for that. And that sounds really dirty. I bet you JC's having a field day with that one, but no, I don't. That doesn't make sense to me. Chiellini should come back as a defensive coach, then work into a more corporate role. But does Chiellini want to coach? I don't think he does.
I don't know if he does. That's his brother's deal, isn't it?
His brother used to be head of Next Gen.
Yes, that was he. So yeah, he was management.
Like, he was working with Next Gen.
It's like the assistant to the original manager sort of role.
It's like, I'm the manager of sitting down. I don't know.
Okay, you do not have you watched The Office?
Yes, I've watched The Office.
So you know this. It's Dwight.
It's Dwight.
This is Dwight.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
we watched The Office. If you ever watched The Office, what are you
Keeling's
doing?
more.
Turn this off right now and watch
Come
The
on,
Office.
Keeling is more likable than Dwight, though. Keeling's not the Dwight.
But it's like assistant to the regional manager, is what he's saying.
It's a more likable Dwight. He could. Well, I mean, if you give him glasses, he might look like Dwight.
No. And I'm not saying like personality. It's just like the made up role to shut him up and keep him happy. Because he thinks it's this assistant regional manager, but it's really the assistant to the regional manager. But anyways,
LJJ says, do you think Juve will finish the season without drama? Yeah, I think
already finished it from this point because we've already had the 2.
I think so.
We hope so.
I mean, like, unless let me clarify this. What kind of drama are you talking about? Are you talking about journalistic drama, or are you talking about the club doing something stupid drama? I think that's how we need to figure out how to answer this question. And then JC says, no memes. You don't understand the reference. Chiellini said this when we beat them in the... No,
I mean, obviously. Which comment are we going back to? Back to KV's?
For what?
Bones? I don't know. Whatever JC's saying.
Oh. Bones says that JC, he can be the back end. Said he can be the back end manager. It's a Pro Clubs joke. JC says we need that in Pro Clubs.
Okay. Yeah.
Help our CPUs out. And Dave nailed it. And then Jeff says Chiellini looks like you know who. I think it's an Office reference. I think you should get this one.
Krieger? No, Krieger. Is it Krieg? Because Krieger's from that cartoon. I can't
pull it up. You just Google the image. It's a shit show. This is the shit show. It's a tinfoil hat show. We're not, we'll answer questions, but
okay. The Office. Is it Krieg? Creed. It's Creed. Okay. Bring this up.
Oh, you're saying a Harry Potter reference? And you're trying to say Chiellini looks like Voldemort? Come on.
Oh, I thought that. No, I thought that was a more local reference.
At least Chiellini has a nose. Oh, that's funny because I can see it. It's just like, hey, you should just pull him up, Dave. Just pull up Voldemort. It's like Chiellini without a beard and a nose. KB says Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, I know who that asshole is. Voldemort.
He's like, yeah, I know who that will.
Yeah, I know who it is. I don't watch the shit, but
JC said he took Chiellini's nose.
Okay, you guys are getting silly now. He's not Voldemort. That's rough. Come on. I'll show you my beloved Chiellini. There's my beloved Chiellini. Look at that smile, guys. Come on. I'm not showing you. There. Hey. There it is. I'm showing you now. Look at that beautiful. What up, Freddy Krueger?
Chiellini without a nose looks like
Krieger.
Cousin.
Krieger. What's that fucking show? It's the guy from Bob's Burgers.
I don't watch that.
And it's about it's the spy dude.
So this will break some hearts here for Thiago Monta suitors. So getting to this one, so with Mota saying that his renewal is not his main focus right now, which is open the doors of people looking at him, and Juve was one of them. Right now, from this, Roma and Milan are currently top suitors for Thiago Motta because Mourinho's out at the end of the season, whether he likes it or whether you like it or not, and Pioli is no longer on fire, as a lot of the Milanista would say. So it looks like because of his great success, utilization of young talent and whatnot, Serie A is coming knocking, and right now they're the suitors for Thiago Motta. So I'm going to ask you guys and you, Dave, what's your thoughts? I'm going to just chime this in. He's an Inter player. Maybe that doesn't matter for some folks. Maybe it does. But remember, keep that into consideration when you're thinking about this guy. He's a, black and blue.
I do like him as a coach. I just don't know if he's the right coach for Juve. And that's always the question. I don't know if there is any other right coach for Juve at this time. Because I'm not sold on any of them, to be perfectly honest. I can't be like, we need to pick this guy up right now. And it's because the club is in a precarious situation and you need a very specific manager. And I think we honestly have the best one for the moment.
Yeah, you have a nice boat steadier in a sense where it's like it's a lot of question marks with Malta, right? What happened to Tudor being linked? Just like every other coach that we get linked. Tudor is taking
Didn't
a
he go somewhere
sabbatical.
else?
No, he's taking a
Oh, I took it
sabbatical.
off. Yeah, that's right.
They wanted him to go to Napoli, but like Tudor was like, I am playing a 3-5-2 and you can suck my nuts. De Laurentiis is like, no contract.
Yeah, don't blame him.
And Paliso says he's it's true. It's true. Does not want him for Juve. Because that really begs, and well, let's have some fantasy here. And I'll ask, and this is more so for the chat to be involved here. Who do you, given the situation's ideal, right? Given that Giuntoli will give you full backing, who do you want as your coach and why?
I told you I am not convinced on anybody at the moment.
That's fine. You don't have to answer.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm still on the bandwagon of Allegri.
That's fine.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna say.
People gonna hate, but
And I won't even get mad if people say De Zerbi, but like if you're gonna say De Zerbi, you got to say, okay, look, if he's got the backing of the director, this is what you need him to do, and that's like, for example, we're playing fantasy here, we're having some fun with it. So Jeff says, I think Mota would have been good if we had gotten him in the 2023 summer mercado and started with the full rebuild around him, but we couldn't buy anyone. That's the issue.
Yeah, that's why we didn't
buy anybody.
Do anything.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we didn't do anything.
Yeah,
because like if Mota couldn't make this work, because so like let's entertain this idea real quick. So right now, yes, we're second place, and it's kind of easy to say, well, hey, maybe we should have had this coach and blah blah blah. But what if the worst case scenario happened? What if we got Mota and he pulled what Giampaolo did when he got brought into Milan? Because Giampaolo, when he was at Sampdoria at the time, was like that guy that everybody was hyping up as like this offensive style, used the Christmas tree formation and yada yada yada, and did great with Sampdoria. And then he went to Milan and got fired within 11 weeks. So you run that risk, right? So like you might start you good or you might start you really bad. There's no in between. And because Palesso kind of hits it right there on the head. He says, let's see how Mota does at the end of the season still. It's still very early. So Teal started out hot with Udinese and then fell apart. Remember the one coach in Monza that everybody wanted last summer? Palladino, I think.
Yeah, his name still gets tossed around
every now and then, but it wasn't as hot as it was back then.
No. Well, because he resigned.
He resigned, but look how Monza is currently. They're not that giant killers of last season.
Not quite the same. We'll find out on Friday.
Yeah, we'll find out on Friday. KB says Xabi Alonso. I need to research more on how that Leverkusen squad was built. Mm-hmm. Like, did all of those players just come together and just pop off, or did he bring some players in? If German Dave was here, German Dave could probably answer it, but
yeah, you might need to go on a deep dive.
That one's a deep dive because, like, for example, I don't really know much about Boniface, so like, he's insane.
Yeah, it's tough when they're in Germany because we're not really paying attention. I hate to say it, but you want Juve content here, so
yeah,
kind of that's where we focus. Poor excuse, I know, but I mean, pay me more, and maybe I'll do this for a living.
JC says, "Here's the thing: whatever coach we get, only like I didn't finish.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, I'm clicky. I'm clicky tonight.
We only get 3 or maybe 4 players would really survive if they change the system. So yeah, it's a big overhaul. Then we're back to the air quotes rebuilding stage. So Jeff says if we're getting Mota, then we need fullbacks and playing with a back 4. So we would need to sell all the players and play with a back back 3 formation like Kostic and Bremer for starters. Okay, so let's entertain this idea again. We tried selling Kostic. Did anybody buy him? Yeah, no.
Silence.
So as well as what we have on the roster. Bremer's the only player that has value that we could sell. And even then, you would have sold him for roughly around the same, if not more, a little bit more. So some of the players that you would have to remove to play in that system, you would have to, obviously, you'd let Rabiot go. You'd probably have to shift some of the youngsters around. You would have to bring in more players than Juve are willing to spend because they spent only $10 million for Timmy. And even then, a lot of their moves were loans with options later down the road. Bones, are you with Lou right now? He says Lou says Ruben Amorim.
They must be.
It must be together. So you sell Bremer and Kostic, but you still have Danilo, which is he going to play a center back? Is he not going to play a center back? Because back four, back three, totally different story. Then you have to figure out what you're going to do with Gatti, what are you going to do with Rugani, and then when you're looking at the middle of the park too, because Mota needs a totally different profile of midfielders to do what he does. Do we have that? I don't think so. For Juve to be fully there for a Mota style, they either A, need to risk a season or two of being mediocre while they get the pieces together, or you have those pieces already established and he just fills in the role. And Juve aren't willing to risk 1 or 2 seasons of being meh. Because that's the one thing we got to understand is Real Madrid, Man City, your top tier teams, if they have to retool, they are not willing to risk anything less than a top 4. They will slowly retool, they'll adjust, and they'll put pieces in and out while maintaining that top 4. But again, it takes a very skilled manager of making do with what he has to maintain that balance. Whereas if you're bringing in Thiago Motta right now, who doesn't have that much experience at a top level club, and then you also need to do an overhaul for his system, you as a fan and the club as a financial entity need to be content with essentially running a couple of years running low on the table or sucking in a sense.
We would not be happy. It would be a long call. And that's always an issue as a perpetually top team, is that you're expected to always be performing at that level. You can see right now where he finished 3rd/7th, whatever, and people are shitting on us. We're now currently in second, keeping things tight up top. They're still going to shit on us anyways.
I mean, that's
Sam's back. What's going on? Oh, I'm excited when I see Sam.
It's kind of the privilege that you have when you're a top level club, right? It is. Like we're extremely privileged to be part of a very to be a fan base of a very successful franchise. Like, are we not? And then, so Jeff says, we are doing it with Allegri and the fans are not content with the results. Me, I'm personally fine, but the majority of the fans are not. Well, those fans got to understand how to deal with being second with a mediocre squad. Like, you do have them. Like, do we have anything crazy on here? Like, you look at our midfield. Our midfield would not make the bench on any of these top teams in the world right now. Chiesa might make a couple of Premier League teams first 11. He might start on a couple of Premier League teams, but you think they're going to start Chiesa at Man City? You think they're going to start Chiesa at Bayern Munich? Sure as hell no, Dusan isn't getting a nod anywhere.
Or Bonucci.
And he didn't. So I think a lot of folks got to remember, and you got to put in perspective, like overall player quality wise, like you have some gems, you have some bright spots, but you got to be honest, man. Like with the performances that some of these players have had and the lack of consistency, which is all part of the game because they're not, they're early 20s, early mid 20s. So it's part of the game, it's part of life, but I think a lot of folks think that we're a Ferrari right now, and in all honesty, we're not. Like defensively,
what, a 3rd place team?
like it is like Juve's a top 4 team, but I don't think Juve are world beaters. Like, are we?
Not currently, no.
No. I don't think so. And like the fact that we're able to put in results together and get into fourth, I don't see an issue. So Balissa says Kostic played as a left winger at Frankfurt, was a killer. Bremer wants to play in a back four, so he's more appealing to Brazil. Don't think that they are a concern. Fullbacks at Juve don't exist though. They don't. That's why they're using wingbacks.
Kostic hasn't really shown that he has the pace to keep up on the left wing, though. He can barely do it as the wingback.
I think Germany was a little bit different, right? Because the way that Frankfurt were drilled, like Kostic's role, open up wide, send the ball into the box. Like that Frankfurt team was just wild. Like it was really, really good. Like Andre Silva was on another level. Jovic was on another level. Like that. It's almost like how Leverkusen is offensively.
And Louis, the guy without anything to play for here, just says, "Fuck it, get another one, see what happens."
He's like, don't get another. Should get another Italian coach. Switch it up. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
I find it difficult for Juve to really go for anything that's not Italian.
They have in the past. It can be done.
And he's also saying we should have got Romaldo.
Yes, we know.
Isn't it interesting that a lot of big clubs passed on Grimaldo?
I have no idea why. Like that guy needs to be playing for a better team. My humble opinion.
Yeah, like, is it?
I mean, Benfica, I'm not saying it's just him, but they suck this year.
So Jeff is saying Chiesa can definitely start with Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, and I don't think he could start at Bayern. I think it'd be really tough.
Yeah, it might be tough. He'll be sitting on the bench with his Dutch boy.
Yeah, well, I mean, he could start at Liverpool, but Salah won't give him the ball. Salah won't pass to him because Salah doesn't pass to anybody. And then Man United, come on, Man United at this point is a joke. Same thing with Chelsea. Like those two teams are just collectively bad. And I did say that, right? I said he could start for a few Premier League teams. I didn't say he wouldn't. I said he had the capabilities of starting for a few. But is Chiesa going to start at Real Madrid? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to take Vinny's spot.
No.
You could probably argue maybe Bayern Munich, maybe. But that's if Gnabry and Sane aren't in form. But the idea is what I'm trying to say is he's not a lock, right? If you have some kind of doubt, that means he's not a lock.
It's not like, say, Holland. It doesn't matter which team he's playing. It doesn't matter which team he's a lock.
Like, for example, Mbappe.
And you could, I would say even Vinny. He's always playing on the wing, any team he's on.
Like, yeah, like there's those guys, like those X factors, like for example, those midfielders, like that they're locks. Like for example, Luka Modric. What midfield doesn't he start in? Tony
Even
Kroos.
At 38 years old or whatever.
Yeah, like Tony Kroos. Like what midfield do they not start in? Like for example, let's use Salah. What team on a right wing does he not start in? Like,
yeah, and you're putting some pretty old profiles out there.
I am, but like that's kind of the picture that I want to paint here.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Like they're old and still producing. They still have it.
We don't have that yet. And I'm not saying we're not going to get it. I'm saying we don't have it. Like for example, when you look at Juve's best days, Chiellini starts on almost any back line in Europe. Say what you want about Bonucci, but prime Bonucci starts in any back line.
I think you might have said Chiesa instead of Chiellini.
What? Did I say Chiesa instead of Chiellini?
Maybe.
No, I thought I said Chiellini.
I don't know. Just if he did, I might have heard it. Maybe I'm losing it today. I could just be completely fucked.
Barzagli as well. One of those guys that can go there. Buffon plays anywhere. I bet you he starts. If any team wanted prime Buffon, they would take him. No difficulty. We're selling Chiesa too short. The kid has the dog in him. He has a dog in him, but he just doesn't have the consistency in him.
We don't want to see anybody we love go to Spurs.
See, I don't think Chiesa starts over Son.
And that is actually a lot of competition there too.
Yeah, because Son plays on the left. Chiesa plays on the left.
Yeah.
I mean, now
that's they're using a tough one.
They're using Son as a false number 9 because they ain't got nobody. But like for example, Chiesa and Son, He's not a lock to replace Son. And this isn't, and let me make this clear. I am not dogging on him. I'm not saying that he sucks. The idea is I'm trying to say that we don't have a player in the starting 11 that is a lock to start on any roster. Very good teams have players that are capable of starting as a lock on any team. Lautaro Martinez right now, do you not take him with how good he's been on form? You have to. As a second striker for teams that play two strikers, he's starting.
The correct answer, Jeff, is you rather see Chiesa play for Juve for the rest of his career.
And then is that Sonaldo is a beast? Chico.
He does. He took it back. Okay, good.
So I think that's one of the issues that we also need to understand as well. Like, we just don't have world beaters currently on this roster. Where it's like you look at your top teams, your elite teams, and they do have that. So I think, are we good? We're outperforming, in my opinion. I think we're doing a lot better than what a lot of people have anticipated. Because how many of us thought that we legit are in striking range of first place by December? Like, you and I predicted that we should technically win the title.
Mm-hmm.
But you and I didn't say that we're going to play amazing football, we're going to dominate. I said we might have the edge to win it at the end. But like,
yeah, I was definitely super excited. Very optimistic at the beginning of the season for sure.
Yeah.
Which,
and that
like
was
I said,
when
you
we
should
had,
be.
and that's when we had Fajoli and Pogba.
Yeah, that there's there was that.
And to put it into perspective as well, with how actually above expectations the season's currently been right now with the roster that's present, make that clear. You know, the last time we won in Fiorentina was almost 4 or 5 years ago, and we did that this season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we went, be that as it may, you know, we went to Milan and we won in Milan this season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we actually stifled Inter. They only had one solid counterattack and then really not that threatening whatsoever over the weekend.
And everyone in the media was betting for Inter, betting against us. Yeah.
Yes.
And then they bitched when we tied it. So I mean,
yeah, they can say, "Oh man, that Inter squad should have scored 15 more." So, you know, going through our little shitstorm here, but like, relax. Like, I've seen this on Twitter because of the Conte news, and everyone's like, now we get to see Chiesa and Dusan perform under an actual coach. Guys, they still lead the league in missed opportunities. They still do. Right? So
LJJ believes.
I do too.
Yeah, LJJ.
I think so too. I think if Dusan finds his shoes and Chiesa gets more consistency, I think we can.
Or, in my alternate reality, Keane finds his shoes.
If Keane gets 20 goals a season. If Keane gets 20 goals a season, that's an absolute win. But right now, there's holes. There's unanticipated holes, and I think we've mitigated to those unanticipated holes. So, look, I kind of wanted to entertain the idea because that's the conversation I've seen all week, and I think we should have talked about it, and we did.
And now we're done.
Now we're done.
No, we're leaving.
We're going out. Bye, guys. No. Look, I think for me, this window is going to be intense, right? I think if we can get a ball playing midfielder, we need ball playing midfielders. I don't think the cam isn't a thing anymore. The cam is not really a unilateral position. I think we need some box playing midfielders, some 8s or 6s that can move the ball and know what to do with the ball. Because I'm gonna tell you this: there's no way in hell Allegri switches from a deep lying midfielder to an attacking midfielder in the 3-5-2. Locatelli is playing in front of the defense for the rest of the season. That is a given. That's not changing.
Broken rib or not.
Broken rib or not. So if you're looking at purchases that Juve need to make or are going to plan on making, you look for a ball playing 8. That's the only thing I can see them doing, because there's no way in hell they get a 10. No way in hell. Because you have Yildiz, you have Chiesa, you have Keane, or you have Yildiz and Chiesa. There's no way that they buy a 10. It makes no sense because you would have to change it from an inverted diamond like this
Oh, he's doing hand things.
to a trident. So you'd have a reverse trident. Right now, we're currently in a reverse trident, where this is your defensive midfielder.
Looks like you're teaching sex ed for the first time.
Damn it, Dave. I'm gonna pull up the thing. I'll pull up the board so I don't look like I'm making gang signs on the internet.
Gang signs. That's funnier that way.
Oh yeah, okay. So tactically, I'm gonna make this clear. So this is what we do currently.
You're gonna like.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm gonna share. I just had.
It was just like this very long pause.
All right. I know. I'm getting ready for my monologue. So currently, this is what we are. Jeff, that's not what a cam is, though. that's an 8. A cam is a 10.
The two of you got to simmer down. You've been going at it all night. You're like a classical Colin and Misak going at it.
Well, it's not that because like this is so a cam is responsible for this area here. So like for example, if we're playing with a cam, the cam lines up here. That is what a cam does. What I think he's trying to say is he's trying to say a midfielder that creates chances. That's not being a cam. That's just being a ball playing. That's an 8. We call those 8s. 8s are guys that can go up, create an opportunity, make an opportunity, and then they come back and they drop down and they adjust there. That's what an 8 is. A 10 stays up here, and that's all they do is they stay and watch this area. Ask JC. He does that all the time in pro clubs. That is what they do. The 10 is responsible for this quadrant in between the lines of the midfield and your forwards. An 8 is someone that assists the 5 because this becomes a 5. When a 10 is down here, they become a 5. And I don't mean from a look scale. So a 5 is responsible for getting the ball this transitionary phase. They might line up here. They might line up there, here, anywhere. This entire area is where the 5 cooks. The 5's job is to get it to these guys here. They're pivots, the 8 and the 6. The 6 being typically more defensive in nature. The 8 being a little bit more offensive. So what the 8 and the 6 need to do, where they have good ball playing capabilities, is they need to connect play between the wingback and the striker that's on their side, where they formulate, and looks like a funny face, so let me erase this real quick. So what they need to do is they need to formulate this quadrant of play and adjust it here. If it's the right-sided 8, or if it's the 6 needs to line up and do that. Yes, 5 is a regista.
So, and there's videos on the terminology of all this stuff.
There's
the like traditional English way of doing it, you know, and they have their own sort of nomenclature. Then there's the numbering system, which kind of gets messy because systems change. And then there's what has kind of evolved from FIFA and the names that they've used, and the new generations just being so used to that nomenclature. Like cam isn't a traditional like footballing position. It's like it's a FIFA footballing position that has come into like our everyday vernacular.
Yep, because what a cam is, the cam holds this area here. So like for example, if I were to draft what our pro clubs team is, so our pro clubs team is something like this. You need to pull one back.
4-2-2-2.
Yeah, something like this, pretty much. So our pro clubs team lines up like this. So this is going to be, this will be Dave. Dave's your 9. Frankie's your 11. JC's your 4. Colin is your 5. Bones is your 8 over here. And then I'm just playing here as another 8. So essentially how it works is Colin controls this side of the field offensively. He doesn't really drop down that much unless you need him to. And then same thing with Carr. Carr holds this area here, creates and moves playments here. And it's a loose 10. And then you have your strikers. So essentially this striker, and so normally how we play is Carr feeds an assist to the 9 back post. Colin feeds an assist to an 11 if he doesn't hit somebody when he crosses. Just kidding. We love you, buddy. And then Lou, when Lou makes his cameo appearances, because Lou holds the records for most big chances missed. Just kidding, I love you, buddy. So Lou will play here, and Frankie will play here. It's usually how it works. So these guys essentially are cams. What they do is they facilitate play. So Bones will carry the ball, or I'll carry the ball, and I'll sync up with these guys, and then these guys are responsible for this area and this area of the field. That is what the 10 or the cam does. So in Juve's sense, so we'll go back to reality a little bit here. So Loca is going to be, and just bear with me, guys. These are just random numbers, and I'm very lazy with typing names in for the essence of time. So right
One day
now,
when we're rich and famous, we'll get a real tactical board.
I know we'll have an editor. We'll have like an actual editor at that point. Because, my old days, my old sense, we never said cam or DMs. We said numbers, because numbers in the boomer age actually meant your position. So if you were an 11, you were considered a winger. If you were a 7, you were considered a winger. If you were a 9, you were a striker. If you're a 10, you're a cam. That's where the nomenclature of numbers came, because back in the old days, numbers related to the position that you played. You would have, like, it used to be frowned upon when you had a number like 21 or 16 or 56.
You also didn't have 30-player teams.
No. You just had 10 guys or 11 guys.
Yeah, and you see that as well in sports like rugby, which are based off the same premise.
So the main issue that Juventus currently have right now is this guy and this guy. And JC became a member.
See, look
Finally.
at him. Yeah, buddy.
Finally, he wants you to twerk for a membership. The issue is this. Rabiot is not known for ball playing and creativity. Moretti is still raw, whether we like to admit it or not. Very raw. McKennie, not really that dude. As much as we appreciate his work ethic and all that, McKennie's he's not a creative midfielder. He's not an 8. He's a 6. We have a team full of 6s and no 8s. Fajoli and Pogba were supposed to be the 8s.
Dash, it's your turn. Take your clothes off.
I'm not doing that.
Close off for memberships.
For $5? No, I'm just kidding. So the problem is yes, you have a lack of chances that are going to these guys up here. But the issue is it doesn't help when these guys miss their chances at the same time. So it's a domino effect. And it gives us this perception, it gives us this eye test that Juve suck offensively. Even though we're creating opportunities and we're creating chances and our guys are missing them. The problem is these guys aren't creating a lot of chances, but these guys are also missing chances as well. So it accumulates. It's a snowball.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. It is what the Canadians would like to say, a typical Thursday where it's a shit ton of snow.
Damn, it's Thursday tomorrow.
It's Thursday. We got ourselves a little bit of a snowstorm, and we're getting ready for this one. This one might take us out for a couple of days.
If you're right. Oh, man, there's projected snow.
Oh, am I right? Oh, snap. I am, gosh darn it.
Nothing tomorrow, though. You're a liar. 5 degrees and partly sunny. It's going to be beautiful.
Damn it. So right now, you need, air quotes, you need an 8. You need a two-way midfielder that can go back and help out on the defense while can also transfer the attack. Who's that current midfielder that can do stuff like that? He's punchable and he's a pain in the ass, but he does it quite well. Barella.
Yes, so
he is an 8.
We'll move on from that. We don't like.
We can move on for that. No problem.
This is a good question from Kamapoko. Is it true Badger was a 9.5, 9.5? Sorry, switching between trequartista and striker.
He was the complete forward. He is, one of those dudes, like very, very rare.
Hairdo.
Baggio had the ability to play as a 10, and he had the ability to play as a 9. He had the ability to create passes, create opportunities. He is essentially a complete center forward. So those are what we used to call center forwards back in the day.
Which is another term.
Center forwards. Yeah. Because what is it now? Striker.
Striker, typically.
Yep. Yeah. So a center forward is different than a striker. It is. Because what a striker is you are there to put it in the net, put ball in net.
I'm gonna see if I can find there are good videos on this out there. I'll see. I'll get
So
continue.
I didn't really expect to do like a tactical lecture this video. So
I didn't. I thought this was gonna be like 30 minutes, and then
I
you said
thought
we're
so.
going live, and then here we are.
I thought so too. See how you guys segue us, but we love you. Drop a like for the tactical breakdowns. So a center forward's responsibility is find a way to make ball go in net. See how that's different? The striker is ball in net. Center forward, make opportunity in net. So center forwards are guys that can take their own shots, create their own shots, and take shots and finish, but at the same time have the vision and the awareness to say, okay, I don't have a good shot, but this guy does.
Yeah. So it turns out there's just a shit ton of these things. So just Google it.
Just Google it.
Yeah.
I think Tifo Football breaks it down. So
That's the one I think I saw most recently that was pretty good. As much as I hate a lot of their shit because they're bad takes, this kind of stuff is typically done well.
We need a cam like Reina. I said Rayo one time and someone lost their fucking mind. That was hilarious.
Oh yeah.
My issue is,
I mean, you are American. You should have probably said it.
My issue with Allegri is that he has same type of midfielders. We need to use a crooked spine with an 8 to support a 5 and 6 and a 10 to support the strikers. So I like Reina, but his issue is he can't stay healthy. He's always hurt. Tecmo says, do we have money to buy? Allegedly.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
Allegedly. Jeff says a lot of our chances are coming from our wingbacks. Yeah.
Cross stitch. Yeah.
And that's why we're easy to predict because everything comes through here. Tecmo says maybe 100K euros. Who can we buy with that money?
Much. Maybe not
about
that
80. I think we have about 80 to 50 to 80. Bone says, I think Keane could be good with time. Keane just needs consistency. And I think Keane is closer to a center forward than he is a 9.
They're saying like a false 9. Yeah, he can play on the wing, so
yes.
he can move around a bit. So yeah, I'd agree with that.
Electric. Hey man, what's his face? Nagelsmann turned Kai Havertz into a left back. So
yeah,
don't jinx it. A 9 is a striker. That's KB. A lot of our chances are coming from our wing backs, so that a lot of our goals come in the air, like crosses and set pieces. Dusan and Chiesa, for some reason, are not scoring in the air. They're just not consistent. That's just the issue. They're just not consistent. Misreads, mistiming. It's just not consistent. Tecmo. It's about 100 million.
Yeah, you know what we meant. But another interesting term. I mean, we got into it. I find it fascinating how we name things, but the old sweeper, where you just had like a guy just booting balls.
Oh, that's old. That is so old. You guys know what a sweeper is?
Yeah, that's extinct.
We're gonna have some fun. So usually you'll see this more in your your pickup leagues and stuff like that because people don't know positioning for shit.
Yeah, I suppose at that level, yeah, you got the fat dude that just hangs back there.
I would say the fat dude, but so you have your defense. Let's say this is your midfield.
And he's asking who will number 10 be for Juve next season? Berardi. I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay. So this is a sweeper. This is a sweeper formation. So it's a 1-3-4-2. Or if you can slot a back 4, whatever well, technically this is a back 4. So what this guy does, so say that this team is pushing up and doing their business. So if when I was in grade school, we called the sweeper the kid that we needed to boot the ball because he sucks at everything else.
Yeah, the fat kid.
Yeah, or the fat. usually that's what was goalkeeper.
But Pelosa still says stopper and keeper. Stopper, obviously, the goalkeeper. Yeah.
All right. So say that the ball is here and the other team make a counterattack or launch the ball to start a counterattack and the ball lands in this area here. It used to be this guy's job to just kick the ball and blast it in the opposite direction. No real tactical, like play the ball here or do this. Just kick the shit out of it. And that's it.
Sweep it. Sweep with your foot.
Sweep it. That's what it is. Sweep it. So that used to be a very popular position. Now, obviously, it doesn't. There's this thing called keeping people on side.
Yeah, and a ball playing keeper.
Yeah. So essentially Neuer became that. But yeah, that's what the sweeper used to do. The sweeper had this huge gap and was responsible for booting the shit out of it. You know a player I would love to see as a sweeper for shits and giggles? Chiellini.
Oh yeah, no, that would be funny if
That would
he
be
just plays like an
hilarious.
old timers ball and he plays sweeper.
You'll see sweepers in over 30 leagues or over 40 leagues. Because you got the one old guy that still has the technique and the ability, but he just doesn't have the legs anymore, so he just kicks the shit out of it. Like, oh my god, those are the days.
Oh, do you know you're asking? I mean, that's before our time now.
Skiera? I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't.
That might be Beppe might know that one. He's older.
Yeah. Pelissa says like hockey, dump and chase. That's my beer league.
Yeah, it is for anybody that plays hockey. Yeah, they have the offside, but as long as you get the puck in the zone before you go into their blue line, so you can literally just like dump that puck, just like lob it over everyone, and then you just like, all right, I just gotta get. That's how I fucked up my shoulder. I was dumping chasing and went way too hard.
Yeah, Dave's a master of the forechecking. Dave comes in there and just absolutely blows their backs out. Gets them with the good forechecking, good back checking, and everything.
All right, man, I gotta eat dinner. This is an hour 45.
We got to cut this. I think we've essentially, because you know when Beppe used to do these, where like Beppe would just sit there for like 2 hours and just talk with everybody. We did that.
we did. That was today.
That was what today was.
But music we paid for, guys.
All right, everybody. Getting into the tinfoil hat show. This is again really non-formal, no script. We just kind of talk, have a conversation. Hopefully, you guys learned some stuff. Yes, Beckenbauer did play sweeper back then, Jeff. You are correct. Right. So hopefully, you guys were able to learn some stuff, some tactical stuff. Pardon me being aggressive on some takes. I just needed to get my point across. Grr. But on that note, guys, I think the next time we'll see you is when we're gearing up for Monza.
Tomorrow. Pre-game.
Yeah.
And Thursday.
Yep.
Game's Friday.
That's right. Today's Wednesday.
Tomorrow.
Shit. Like and subscribe.
Good night, guys.